Tonight, a mass shooting in Winnipeg leaves the city shaken.
Crazy. It's getting scary out here.
3 dead, 2 injured, and the gunman still at large. More hostages released from Gaza, including a 4-year-old girl whose parents were murdered.
Thank God she's home.
In exchange for 39 Palestinian detainees. Could the truce be extended? We ask Israel's president about that, the civilian death toll in Gaza, and Canada's response.
We were offended by the comments of Prime Minister Trudeau.
In the breakdown, the hunt for the perfect tree will cost you.
A fake tree isn't the same. You don't get to cut it or anything.
What's causing a shortage of Christmas trees?
This is The National with Ian Hannamansing.
In the Middle East, a fragile temporary truce held for a 3rd straight day. Hamas freed a group of 17 hostages, and in exchange, Israel released Palestinian detainees. Among those hostages back in Israel tonight, a 4-year-old who reportedly witnessed the killing of her parents during the brutal massacre by Hamas on October 7th. In Gaza, the truce has eased the struggle for survival, but the devastation of the past 7 weeks is immense and set to resume after the next exchange. Hamas said today it wanted to extend the truce with conditions, something Israel says it's open to. Briar Stewart now with the relief this temporary pause is already bringing some, as well as the stark reality inside Gaza.
Crowds cheered as another 17 hostages finally reached Israel. Among them, Hagar Brodach, mother to 10-year-old Ofri, 8-year-old Uval, and 4-year-old Uriah, all reunited with their father. Their uncle Aaron Brodach was there for that moment too. He's from Toronto and spoke to CBC News just hours before his relatives' release.
Just hug them. I think that's as far as I'm thinking right now.
The Brodaches were freed along with Abigail Aiden, who just turned 4 on Friday. She's a U.S. citizen and also now an orphan.
Her mom was killed in front of her. Abigail ran to her dad then, who then was gunned down. She then ran to a neighbor for help, where they were all taken hostage, that entire house of neighbors.
Abigail's 2 older brothers survived by hiding in a closet. She's free now, but won't yet understand how much her world has changed. She is one of the 14 Israeli hostages that were released along with 3 Thai citizens. And in exchange for the 3rd night, 39 Palestinians were released from Israeli jails. This was the reception Amani Hashim received when the 38-year-old was released after 7 years in prison on Friday. In 2016, she was convicted for driving into an Israeli soldier at a checkpoint in the West Bank, but she says it was an accident. I see the deal as a gift from God, she said. It's a deal written by the blood of the martyrs and innocents, and this is the sacrifice the people paid to free the prisoners. In the occupied West Bank, tensions are high where there are reports of at least 7 Palestinians killed, including 5 in an Israeli raid. And it's here where the crowd swells with each prisoner release. But in Gaza, there's little to celebrate. The break in fighting means a clear look at the destruction of war. Aid is coming in, but it's nowhere near enough. Empty gas canisters line the street, and gas stations are overrun with crowds. A ceasefire made no difference in our living conditions, said this man. The only difference is the halting of airstrikes. And those could resume as early as Tuesday morning if the temporary truce isn't extended. As Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu greeted troops in Gaza, he vowed nothing will stop Israel once it resumes its fight.
And Briar, there's some positive signs on the truce tonight.
Yes, Ian, both Hamas and Israel say they're open to extending the truce beyond Monday, which would mean more hostages would be freed and more Palestinians would be released from prison. As for the hostages who returned to Israel Sunday, a sign of just how urgent the timing is for some. One was in serious condition and had to be evacuated by helicopter from Gaza.
Barry Stewart reporting from Jerusalem. The U.S. president says his government is working on extending the truce, but Katie Simpson shows us he faces political pressures to change his approach to the war.
U.S. President Joe Biden looking relieved as he returned from his Thanksgiving break. Encouraged by the steady release of hostages, he's backing calls for the pause in fighting to be extended.
That's my goal. That's our goal, to keep this pause going beyond tomorrow so that we can continue to see more hostages come out and surge more humanitarian relief into those who in need in Gaza.
Biden made that point directly to the Israeli Prime Minister during a phone call Sunday, as the White House faces increasing pressure to re-examine its response to the war.
The president has gone out on a limb here. He's gone out on a limb generally for Israel and is paying a political price for it.
Biden is losing support among young and progressive voters over this issue, according to recent poll numbers.
And in my view,
and a new proposal by Senator Bernie Sanders to impose conditions on U.S. aid for Israel is gaining traction. During an interview with CNN, Democratic Senator Chris Murphy said he'd back the idea.
We regularly condition our aid to allies based upon compliance with U.S. law and international law. And so I think it's very consistent with the ways in which we have dispensed aid.
Biden appeared open to the proposal as well.
Well, I think that's a worthwhile thought, but I don't think if I started off with that, we'd ever gotten to where we are today.
But his national security advisor downplayed any potential change in U.S. response.
And when he answered that question, he acknowledged the idea, but then he said in the same breath that the approach that he has taken is what has been generating results.
The temporary pause in fighting is just that, temporary. The White House has to now decide if it will continue with its unwavering support of Israel once that fighting resumes. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
Police say an attack in Vermont on 3 young men of Palestinian descent may have been motivated by hate. Police say the 3 students were walking near the University of Vermont when they were confronted by a gunman who opened fire. 2 are in stable condition, the 3rd suffering more serious injuries. Fear and uncertainty are rippling through a Winnipeg neighborhood tonight after a mass shooting left 3 people dead and 2 others in critical condition. Winnipeg police raced to a rooming house near the city's downtown before dawn. They found 5 people shot. Their identities haven't been released, and no one has been arrested. The investigation just getting underway. The scale of this crime has left many in Winnipeg shaken. Cameron McIntosh takes us through what we know.
In Winnipeg's West Broadway neighborhood, an entire block taped off. Police combing through a crime scene. 5 people shot in this rooming house, leaving area residents like Martin Pike rattled.
There's been a lot of traffic in and out of that place, so you never know. Plus, it's a high drug traffic area.
Police say given the scale of the incident, their investigation could take a while. They were called shortly after 4 a.m.
Attending officers located 5 people with injuries consistent with being shot. An adult male and an adult female were pronounced deceased at the scene. 3 additional victims were located and transported to hospital in critical condition. 1 adult male transported to hospital has since succumbed to his injuries.
Police haven't identified a suspect and are asking the public for information. One woman tells CBC News her 2 cousins were both shot in the head. 1 has died. As for what motivated the shootings, police aren't ruling out anything, including gang activity.
Always a possibility, not something we haven't ruled out, but not something that I can positively identify as being a motive at this point.
As for the people that live here, plenty of questions and worry.
Just like, I don't know, it's crazy. It's getting scary out here.
Just the neighborhood needs to be cleaned up. It's plain and simple. There's just too much gangs, too much drugs.
Cameron, 5 people shot. That is big by any community standards. What are authorities in Winnipeg saying?
Well, Ian, you know, from time to time, we do see multiple homicide events here in Winnipeg, but 5 people shot at once, that really is on a scale of its own here in this city. We've heard from the mayor of Winnipeg, Scott Gillingham, and the premier of Manitoba, Wab Kinew. Both are saying that this is a stark reminder that violent crime and gun violence need to be addressed in this city and in this country. As for the police, the investigation, and whether they're making any progress on a suspect or suspects, we expect to hear more tomorrow. Ian?
Cameron McIntosh in Winnipeg tonight. Premier Danielle Smith confirmed she will invoke Alberta's controversial new Sovereignty Act for the first time tomorrow to fight Ottawa's proposed clean energy regulations. Smith says she'll use the law to shield Alberta power companies from a federal requirement to achieve a net zero electricity grid by 2035, a target she calls unachievable. Invoking the act would declare Ottawa's plan unconstitutional, but not clear whether that would stand up to a court challenge. There are questions tonight about how effective new federal mortgage guidelines will be at keeping Canadians in their homes. Ottawa unveiled it last week. JP Tasker looks at what they are and whether they'll help in the face of high interest rates.
Bikram Deep Singh has a mortgage renewal looming on his Vancouver area townhome.
Right now, I'm looking at the renewal rates somewhere between 6 and 6.5%. So that's going to be like bringing my payments 30 to 40% up. So that's going to be a significant chunk of money that I'll be spending every month.
Singh was already just trying to keep his head above water.
I'm the sole income earner in my family, so that definitely puts some stress.
About 2.2 million mortgages are up for renewal in the next 2 years, according to federal data. Those households will be paying a lot more with record low rates in the rearview mirror. Kevin Larkin doesn't think he can keep his Surrey, BC home on a teacher's salary.
You know, I've just been running the numbers, and I don't see how I'm going to be able to renew and afford this.
Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland says Ottawa is doing what it can to avoid a spike in foreclosures.
I want Canadians to get through this. I want Canadians to be able to afford their mortgages and keep their homes.
That's where the government's new mortgage charter comes in, a series of guidelines for banks, including allowing temporary extensions of amortization periods so people can take longer to pay, and exempting homeowners from a stress test when switching lenders at renewal.
Most banks were doing many of these things.
This real estate watcher says the charter won't change much. People are already offloading properties they can't afford, and it could get worse.
If rates stay in the 6s for another 12 months, we're going to have potentially and very likely some downward pressure on prices. I mean, something's going to break.
The good news is inflation seems to have stabilized. The bad news, interest rates might not go down as fast as they went up. The governor of the Bank of Canada has warned people should prepare to live with higher rates for longer. JP Tasker, CBC News, Ottawa.
Canadian health officials are tracking a dangerous Salmonella outbreak linked to cantaloupes. So far, it's killed 1 person and sickened dozens more. The outbreak is linked to Malichita and Rudy brand cantaloupes. Multiple recall warnings have been issued for both brands. More than 60 people have fallen ill and at least 17 have been hospitalized. So far, cases have been identified in British Columbia, Ontario, Quebec, PEI, and Newfoundland and Labrador. Now to a Go Public investigation. A family is speaking out over concerns about a commonly prescribed cancer drug. Their brother died from a toxic response to it just 3 weeks after his first and only dose. Rosa Marcatelli looks into who else could be at risk.
When we all at dinner as a family together.
When Anil Kapoor was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, his family was hopeful treatment would buy him several more years. But 3 weeks after his first and only dose, the 58-year-old was dead, killed by the chemotherapy drug, according to doctors.
I just feel like we were robbed of time together.
Kapoor was given the commonly prescribed drug fluorouracil, known as 5-FU. What his doctors didn't know is that Kapoor had something in his DNA, a genetic variant, that makes the drug toxic to his system. It's unclear how many Canadians have similar variants.
These people are dying as a result of the therapy.
Some provinces, like Quebec and Ontario, routinely pre-screen cancer patients for genetic variants that can make 5-FU toxic. but only for the 4 most common ones, and there are a lot more. Anil Kapoor had a variant that wasn't part of his pre-screening. Here's the thing. Experts say when decisions were made on which variants are most common, they were based on medical studies which mostly neglected racialized populations.
We know less and less about which of the variants that they may carry will actually predispose them to an increased risk of toxicity to the drug.
It's unknown if Kapoor's genetic variant is more common in people of South Asian ancestry.
There are people sitting in the hospital not more than 5 minutes away who are being given this drug, and they are completely vulnerable.
So why don't the provinces do wider tests? Some say there isn't enough research to say they should. But BC does just that. Instead of testing for 4 genetic variants, it pre-screens for 6, after studying 5FU's impact on Vancouver's diverse population.
Patients need to be told that this is what could happen.
Anil Kapoor was a doctor, and so are his 2 younger brothers. The family is now getting tested to find out if they have the same variant that led to his lethal reaction to 5FU. This family of doctors wants to warn everyone else what can happen too. Rosa Marcatelli, CBC News, Calgary.
Our Go Public stories come from you. If you have a tip for the team to investigate, send an email to gopublic@cbc.ca. The president of Sierra Leone says that an attack in the capital by what his government called renegade soldiers has been stopped.
Most of the leaders have been arrested. Security operations and investigations are ongoing.
Earlier, the government imposed a nationwide curfew as gun battles raged in the capital. Among the targets, an armory, a police station, and a prison where inmates escaped. The situation has been tense in Sierra Leone since the last election, which was contested by the opposition. This is the new plan to reach 41 construction workers who have been stuck in a collapsed tunnel in India for 2 weeks. Rescuers have started drilling into the mountain vertically from the top after the drill trying to reach them horizontally broke this weekend. The group does have access to food, water, oxygen, and medicine as they wait. In the midst of a fragile truce, Israel's president is describing what the families of hostages are forced to endure.
So it's like a casino for families. None of us know who's next. Just a crazy situation.
His thoughts on the deal and the potential for an extension. But first, threats a teacher strike in Quebec could last until Christmas.
We're taking it day by day.
The scramble for parents to find care for their kids. And the root of the problem behind a Christmas tree shortage.
We want to try to continue this for as long as we feasibly can.
We're back into
Having this feeling at least once, it is a really special feeling.
a special feeling for him and for all Italian tennis fans. For just the second time in 47 years, Italy has won the Davis Cup. The team beating Australia in the final today as the tournament came to a close in Spain. Tens of thousands of Quebec teachers are about to start a new school week on strike, and they warn they'll stay off the job until they get a better deal from the province. Quibino Duro shows us how that's affecting parents.
Some to the other one.
7-year-old Aria Leger could be out of school for a while. Her teachers are among 66,000 educators in Quebec's French elementary and secondary schools who are on strike.
We're taking it day by day. I don't think it's tough logistically.
Christelle Leger says her own mom is planning to fly in from New Brunswick to help with childcare.
Finding things for her to do all day long that doesn't include watching TV or getting her to read.
The union, known as the FAE Quebec, says this strike is affecting about 40% of Quebec students. Teachers walked off the job Thursday in the middle of contract negotiations with the province. Teachers are pushing for improved working conditions and better salaries.
We don't teaching to be rich, but we need help to teach. So we ask the government to give us more money to be the best teachers and help to help kids to learn more.
You go into education to make a difference, and if you can't make a difference in your day-to-day teaching,
then you feel like a failure, and it's not a good feeling.
Hundreds rallied outside the CBC Radio-Canada office in Montreal, while inside, Quebec's Treasury Board President Sonia Lebel was on Radio-Canada's Tout le monde en parle.
On va trouver une voie de passage, puis leurs préoccupations sont bien entendues.
She says she hears what teachers are saying, but that the government also needs to offer better services to Quebecers. This union is one of several in contract negotiations with the province right now. Some, representing about 400,000 public sector workers, have band together to make what they call the Common Front. They are set to announce this week if they will also walk off the job indefinitely. Cubino Duro, CBC News, Montreal.
A university professor in Moncton has been let go following an investigation into inappropriate behavior.
He commented on the clothing that I was wearing and asked if I dressed up for him.
What a CBC News investigation has unveiled about his past. And Israel's president responds to criticism over the loss of civilian life in Gaza.
Unfortunately, it was forced upon us by a ruthless enemy, and that's what we are fighting.
My one-on-one interview with Isaac Herzog. But first, short on supply, Christmas trees are becoming a big-ticket item.
A fake tree isn't the same. You don't get to cut it or anything.
Why this season may not be an outlier. The National breaks down the stories shaping our world. Next.
You can always find The National, our award-winning CBC News journalism and breaking news anytime, on the free CBC News app, cbcnews.ca, on CBC Gem, and on our YouTube channel.
The holiday season now in full swing. Thousands turning out in Toronto today to get a glimpse of Santa Claus. The annual parade featured 27 floats and almost a dozen marching bands. But in St. John's, police called down the Christmas parade as a precaution after an armed standoff on a street close to the route. Police do say the situation was resolved peacefully. 3 people were arrested. The parade has been rescheduled for next Sunday. For many, the holidays aren't complete without a Christmas tree, but like just about everything else this year, it might cost you more, and that's if you can even get a hold of one. Yvette Brand explains why.
Hunting for that perfect tree is tough enough.
Watch out, watch out. Ah.
Just ask this 10-year-old.
A fake tree isn't the same. You don't get to cut it or anything.
But fresh tree stock is scarce this year.
They smell so good. We want to try to continue this for as long as we feasibly can.
BC gets many of its trees from out of province, but cultivated pine trees are getting harder to find and more expensive. A decent 2-meter-high Christmas tree will cost you $100 to $200.
We continue to have to raise our prices in order to make funds, and for the most part, we're just having to pass that cost off to the customer.
Well, for farmers, all the input costs are up. The cost of fertilizer's up, the cost of pesticides and sprays and everything else up, the cost of labor. It's very difficult to even get labor at a small farm. So all these input costs, fuel, everything is up.
Adding to the challenge, climate change. Heat waves and droughts are not making it any easier. Statistics Canada says this country has lost 1,000 tree farms in a decade, and that's starting to affect retailers. Even some nonprofits are cutting off online sales. Otherwise, they sell out too fast.
It definitely becomes challenging. We were able to make our way through COVID, which was extremely challenging, and I'd say this is even more challenging.
This year, a North Vancouver Lions Club could barely find 600 trees to sell. They usually buy closer to 1,600. That leaves them short about $30,000 in fundraising revenue they're offsetting with craft sales.
That's a big hole left by missing trees until planting again catches up with Christmas demand. Yvette Brennan, CBC News, Vancouver.
Now we go deeper into the stories shaping our world. A prominent Christian scholar has just been fired from a Moncton university. Our investigation shows how similar circumstances at a previous school were kept quiet. But first, Israel defends how hard it struck Gaza. This is the breakdown. Israeli President Isaac Herzog lashes out at Hamas as more hostages are traded for Palestinian detainees.
It's like a casino for families. None of us know who's next.
He's also critical of Canada.
We were offended by the comments of Prime Minister Trudeau.
With the ceasefire about to expire and criticism from many countries over the number of civilian deaths in Gaza, we wanted to get a direct response from Israel. President Herzog, thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you, Ian.
As of right now, Mr. President, how do you feel about the way that the hostage release has been proceeding?
It's an emotional roller coaster. Unfortunately, you know, every round of release and every step that was agreed with Hamas has been violated by Hamas. But at the end of it, in each day, another group of hostages was released. Older grandparents, grandmothers, or younger babies or children were released, and also some employees that came to work and study in Israel from Thailand and Philippines. It's a huge emotional challenge because we are seeing the loved ones arrive and meet their family relatives where we don't really know anything about their mental situation, about their medical situation, and Hamas treads on the emotions of the families and of course on an entire nation and perhaps the world by not enabling the Red Cross even to meet or see any of the hostages throughout this period.
So it remains a very difficult, very emotional situation. I think a lot of people around the world are wondering.
Yeah, at the end of every day, they're supposed to give us the list for the next day, and it stays confidential. So it's like a casino for families. None of us know who's next, who they're going to release next. It's just a crazy situation. And remember, we still have about 200 hostages still in the hands of Hamas.
So I think people around the world are very interested in the answer to this question. What do you think the likelihood is that the current ceasefire will continue?
I don't know. I'm doubtful because it is clear that we must remove Hamas from leading and being able to employ terror against us from the Gaza Strip. That will change the equation. That will change dramatically the direction. It will enable Palestinians and Israelis to look into a different horizon. So long as Hamas is there, where they took Gaza by a coup d'etat. After Israel withdrew in 2005, they took the Gaza in a coup d'etat in 2007, fully directed by Iran. And since then, it's a dictatorship, extremely anti-liberal, I mean, what they're doing to LGBTQ or any other different person than the ordinary, according to their belief, is horrendous. It's torture, it's jail, it's of course death sentence, and so forth and so on. And that is why the way they treat women or treat people of other beliefs or gender is unbelievably cruel. And we've seen this cruelty on the 7th of October, where they went into Israel in a major attack, violating the international border and chopping and cutting and burning and torturing and raping and then abducting innocent civilians.
Mr. President, the atrocities of Hamas aside, and it is clear that it was responsible for atrocities on October the 7th, a lot of civilians in Gaza have been caught in the middle of this war between Israel and Hamas. And there has been a deep concern around the world, including from many world leaders, including many of whom are supporters of Israel. And for example, here in Canada, our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, called on the government of Israel to exercise maximum restraint in its military operations in Gaza. This is a quote, "The killing of women and children, of babies, this has to stop." What's your response?
We were offended by the comments of Prime Minister Trudeau because I spoke myself with Prime Minister Trudeau just a week before. Prime Minister Trudeau spoke to me about the enabling the exit of Canadian civilians who were in Gaza, and Israel has done its best and made it a priority. And of course, it was offensive because we care about the citizens and the civilians in Gaza. We truly care about the humanitarian effort. This is a war which is a war on behalf of humanity against evil forces who don't want to see not only any Jew, they don't want to see any Christian. They want all of us out of here. And the next thing, they want Europe out of there as well. And then the United States and Canada are definitely on their list. One has to read this ideology of jihad to understand what we're facing. We're facing an empire of evil. And we care about civilians, so we, according to international law, we alert them, we tell them, we call them, we send them leaflets by the millions. We text message and we tell them, please move out of your premises, because out of your premises, missiles were launched against us, terror operations came out of your premises, from your houses, from your shops, from your mosques. An entire war machine was launched against the people of Israel, actually against the entire Middle East that is seeking peace. And this is the real war we're at.
There are concerns, though, about the proportionality between what Israel is trying to achieve militarily in Gaza and the toll on civilians, including children. The UN Secretary General has described the level of death and destruction in Gaza as unprecedented and unparalleled. So maybe I'll finish with this. If hostilities resume, if the war between Israel and Hamas resumes after this ceasefire, is there anything, should there be anything, that Israel will do to reduce the number of civilian casualties?
We are doing it all the time. We are alerting. We've opened humanitarian corridors. We employed humanitarian pauses hours and hours every day. We have called and we've aided people to go to a safe zone. We're actually calling on the United Nations and all other nations to enable this safe zone, which has been built, and to enable the Gazan citizens to go there. Once we enter the area, we make sure that, all terror infrastructure, which is above and beneath. Beneath, there's a huge terror infrastructure, the biggest in the world by billions of dollars, including, I must say, Western countries, taxpayers' money, including Canadian taxpayers' money, which went to for the well-being of Gazan citizens and the infrastructure in Gaza, but they money laundered it. They took some of the money for their own purposes, and they built an enormous war machine, monstrosity. The monstrosity we saw on the 7th of October is being unraveled by our forces. We'll do whatever it takes to enable us to get rid of this threat so that the threat will not apply anymore in the region, so that the region and the people of Gaza and the Palestinians and the Israelis will be able to look into a different horizon.
But President Herzog, I guess the point is, despite what you would describe as all the measures that Israel has taken to reduce civilian deaths, the number of civilian deaths to this point has been, as I've said, deeply troubling, whether it's from the United Nations perspective, the Red Cross, or many countries around the world. So is there anything that will change going forward that will reduce the number of civilian deaths?
So I give you a direct reply. First of all, some of the data we're not sure is correct. It's Hamas data. They distort the data all the time. Secondly, a lot of casualties came from Hamas fire itself. Hamas broke down the electricity system and the water system. Thirdly, believe me, every Palestinian who is hurt, it breaks my heart. I care about the fate of Palestinians. We all care about the fate of Palestinians. They're our neighbors. They were, the people who were burnt, chopped and killed and abducted on the borderline were the biggest supporters of peace in Israel. They had special funds in each kibbutz to assist the people of Gaza. They would volunteer for their well-being and taking them to hospitals. We've opened up the entire border for tens of thousands of Gazans to work in Israel. And what did they do? They gathered information, gave it to Hamas, and which was used against us in this horrendous attack. This is the dilemma we're at. If you have the right to defend yourself, then you go in and fight and uproot the enemy, which is in civilian premises. And believe me, I don't know any Canadian who has in his living room missiles that go 200 kilometers or even 1 kilometer. This is preposterous and outrageous. And unfortunately, it was forced upon us by a ruthless enemy, and that's what we are fighting.
President Herzog, we will continue at CBC to cover this story, to hear different voices, to verify information, and we certainly appreciate hearing your perspective on this today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And you can see more of CBC News coverage of the Israel-Hamas war on our website, video, audio, and articles, including a wide variety of perspectives about the conflict and its impact. A Canadian professor once accused of unwanted touching has been fired by a different institution.
We call it pass the garbage, one individual moving from one organization to another because there's no trail.
Why the university may not have known about his past. CBC News uncovers the secret past of a prominent Christian scholar just fired from a Moncton university.
I just felt super uncomfortable.
We've learned his previous school had investigated similar allegations.
We call it pass the garbage, one individual moving from one organization to another because there's no trail.
Here's investigative reporter Katie Nicholson to break down the case of John Stackhouse Jr. and a pattern of behavior that was kept under wraps.
Courtney Lutz said she had to be strategic about what she wore to class.
Sweatpants, hoodies.
What did you hope wearing all this would do?
Draw less attention.
Lutz is a graduate of Crandall University.
Crandall University is Eastern Canada's leading Christian liberal arts university.
She's also among the current and former students whose stories fueled an anonymous Instagram account.
So I was Jessica in the Instagram.
Mostly calling out the behavior of one professor. In Lutz's case, she says he constantly commented on how she looked.
I just felt super uncomfortable. I was anxiety-driven. He commented on the clothing that I was wearing and asked if I dressed up for him. I never wanted to attend these classes because I was scared to get called out. Crandall professors stated that I would not pass the class.
That professor's behavior was so off-putting.
I wanted to keep track of when these things were happening.
Indira Trousdale started documenting it alongside her class notes.
Why do you have to describe how I look fetching or something like that? I don't really want my older male professor imagining me in different outfits. It's a little uncomfortable.
That professor.
How are you today, Dr. Stackhouse?
Very well, Seth. Nice to visit with you.
Celebrated Christian theologian John Stackhouse Jr.
Evangelicals are people who believe that God's given us something important to do.
This theology professor
A regular CBC pundit. From a new pope.
There might be actually hope for those who want to see the church change.
I'm very happy.
To the Dalai Lama's visit to Canada.
He's the serious spiritual guy who's not a Christian.
I wrote a book about 10 years ago.
And an author of numerous books, including one on feminism in Christianity. But on Wednesday night, after a 6-month investigation prompted by those social media posts, Crandall University issued a blistering report that revealed another side of the professor. The report itself doesn't name Stackhouse, but CBC News has identified him as the faculty member, one whose classroom jokes or stories constituted sexual harassment, whose behavior bordered on abuse of authority, and whose antics detrimentally affected the learning environment. The investigator, after viewing more than 100 pages of inappropriate emails sent by the professor to a student, concluded it was a classic case of grooming. Crandall terminated Stackhouse within a week of receiving the final report. It turns out it wasn't the first time he'd faced such allegations.
Not a single female that I've spoken to about that has been surprised.
From 1998 to 2015, Stackhouse taught here in Vancouver.
All of us knew that if there was...
Abigail Harmon knew Stackhouse at Regent, first as a student, then as a work colleague.
his interactions with women were sometimes a little bit too loose and overly familiar and more personal. Sometimes it would feel like it would cross a line into an understanding that he was maybe interested in you or attracted to you, or that he wanted something from you.
When you hear he's under investigation for some of the same issues at another university, what goes through your mind when you hear that?
I was not at all surprised. I would assume that someone who was not held accountable for his actions was going to simply continue the same misconduct at a different institution.
In the Crandall report, the investigator asked the professor if there had ever been a sexual harassment complaint made against him at his previous institution. His reply, according to the report, "I do not see how it's in my interest to answer that question." Multiple sources told us Regent College investigated Stackhouse's conduct with female students and staff back in 2014. We also reviewed documents from that time which reveal a similar pattern of alleged behavior and at least one instance of unwanted touching that ultimately led to his departure. CBC News has also learned there was a settlement agreement between Stackhouse and Regent, the terms of which were to be kept secret by both parties through a non-disclosure agreement. And so when it hired Stackhouse, it appears Crandall didn't know about his past.
If that was apparent before, why did it continue to Crandall?
It's just continuous, and these patterns, like it hasn't changed.
We call it pass the garbage, one individual moving from one organization to another because there's no trail.
Liz LeClaire is with Can't Buy My Silence, an international movement dedicated to ending the misuse of non-disclosure agreements, or NDAs, especially when it comes to silencing victims.
If nothing is reported publicly, if there is nothing allowed to be online, if there's no trail of information, it's really difficult for people to figure out if someone's a problematic individual.
CBC News repeatedly asked Regent College for an interview to address many questions, including whether it disclosed Stackhouse's past to his new potential employer. In a public statement, Regent College said it was disturbed and saddened by allegations against Professor John Stackhouse, but that it couldn't discuss past employees because of privacy laws.
Regent's public statement is honestly pathetic. There's nothing good or noble or true about it. It doesn't take responsibility. As an alumnus of Regent, I'm frankly embarrassed.
Michael Buttrey is currently a PhD student in ethics at the University of Toronto. He thinks his alma mater needs to step up.
Regent's decision-making falls far below the standards we should expect of any institution, but especially a Christian one.
Across the country, another Christian school, a very different approach.
I would like to just quote a scripture passage to you, really. It says in Micah chapter 8, "And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." And I think it's important that we are open and honest about everything that we do.
Sheila Cummings is Crandall's former board chair. She helped oversee the investigation.
Would it have been easier to just try to sweep this under the carpet? Perhaps, but it was not what was right and honest.
As for John Stackhouse, so far he's not responded to our many requests for an interview or comment on these matters.
Some provinces are working on legislation to ban the use of NDAs in cases of sexual misconduct unless the victim asks for the agreement. In PEI, it is already the law. Coming up, a playful pod of orcas putting on a show.
I was just kind of like, holding my breath, trying to keep the camera steady.
The dazzling display of breaching is next in our moment. Well, this incredible sight captured just off the coast of Galiano Island in British Columbia by a guy who was out on his daily walk, which he almost canceled. He noticed the pod of orcas playfully breaching. He started recording, and that video has been impressing so many people, even the most skilled whale watchers. Tonight, the majesty of these marine mammals is our moment.
I was kind of walking along, and then I got to the top of the hill and I just heard the sound of the whales. So I went to try to see what I could see and try to film it. And it was just amazing how at first they were just kind of milling around, and then I noticed that a couple of them started slapping their tails. You know, it was just such an amazing sound to hear that. And then they just started popping up one after another, which is really kind of rare to see. And not only that, but to actually be filming it at the same time is kind of what you dream for. So yeah, I was just kind of like, you know, holding my breath, trying to like, you know, keep the camera steady and like, and capture it. Everything kind of lined up for me at this perfect moment. Orcas are such a symbol of beauty and wildness, but then to see them just having fun, you know, is quite a remarkable thing.
If you've ever seen any whales breaching, there is something magical about it. Orcas even more so, and then to have that many looking as if they are doing it in a happy way, like it is incredible. Unfortunately, orcas, the resident population of orcas are endangered, but the number of transient orcas who are moving from one place to another through the Sailor Sea, as it's called, sightings are just ahead of what they normally would be this time of year. So hopefully that's a good sign for that population. Thanks for being with us. You can watch anytime, anywhere on the free CBC News app and subscribe to the National's YouTube channel. I'm Ian Hannamansing in Vancouver. Good night.